This is Richard Thorndike with BS News for this first Friday of December 2011, and away we go. Dateline, Herman takes a goring. This week, Herman Cain was accused of having a 13-year-long extramarital affair. Many of his followers deserted him to flock to serial adulterer Newt Gingrich. In a related story, people sick to death of dirty tap water have started drinking out of their toilets. Dateline, to know him is to love him. This week, Newt Gingrich said, quote, running for president, as opposed to being an analyst on Fox, I actually have to know what I'm talking about, unquote. If Newt was still at Fox News, he could be fired for that. Not for the statement, for actually knowing what he's talking about. Dateline, Century City. A 103-year-old Atlanta woman was spared from being evicted after sheriff's deputies refused to do it. The bank that was foreclosing on the woman finally said she could stay, even though Senator Rand Paul had offered to go to Georgia and personally throw her out into the street. Dateline, in digestion news. Speaking of which, the family of Ron Paul has come out with a cookbook. Oddly, the book recommends not making enough food for all of your dinner guests, so that only the strong will end up eating. And finally, Dateline, Stripe 2, you're out. 2 zebras escaped from a petting zoo near Washington, D.C., and they're on the loose. The zebras will be hard to spot, as the people in Washington tend to see everything in terms of black and white. That's all there is. There is no more. We're closing in on beer o'clock. Richard Thorndike, BS News. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's have Republican dinner parties where we don't cook enough for the guests and only the strong get fed. And we'll call them Republican dinner parties. Darwinian dinner parties where only the strong survive. Eugenic dinner parties where only the most fit will survive. Not enough food for everybody. Fight it out. Fight it out. You're allowed to bring your guns, too. That is their vision for these United States, that only the strong will survive. Everybody else can go to hell. Everybody else could rot. Everybody else is a dirty, filthy hippie that needs a bath and a job. Not that they're willing to do anything to provide jobs. I mean, you know what's crazy is every time I look at the jobs numbers, now you always pay attention to the public sector, federal, state, and local job numbers too. And every time we do something policy-wise that increases consumer demand, meaning we put more money in people's pockets, like a payroll tax cut or, better wages or saving the auto industry and the supply chain associated with it. Every time we do something policy-wise that benefits working people, you see an uptick in jobs added to the economy because consumer spending equals hiring. Hiring equals more consumer spending. That is our vicious cycle that we crazy liberals are for. And their vicious cycle is only the rich get the money. And, they're like hoarders, by the way. The rich don't throw. It's like, you ever see that show Hoarders, and they're always like living with garbage bags? Well, imagine those bags stuffed with cash. See, the rich are just hoarders, except instead of like rats' heads and dog parts, they've got bags full of money sitting around. That's what they do.